The following is a presentation of the Black Hollywood Live Network, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. Hollywood Redefined. From Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is Black Hollywood Live, Breaking Into. Featuring in-depth interviews with today's most influential entertainment figures, highlighting their tips, tricks, and techniques on breaking into the entertainment industry.
You're listening to Black Hollywood Live.
And now, the host of Black Hollywood Live, Breaking Into.
Hey everyone, you're watching Breaking Into. I'm your host, Derrial, Christon, and here joining me is Jessica King.
Hello.
And our very special guest today is one of the most sought-after Hollywood producers out there right now. Stephanie Frederic is joining us. How you doing, Stephanie?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. We're glad that you're here.
Good.
Thank you for joining us today.
I'm happy to be here. I love the studio. Tell Maria I love the studio.
I think you just told her.
Oh, good. No, it's
She'll get
wonderful.
the
It's
message.
beautiful. It's smart. It's very smart. Wish
Thank
I'd
you.
thought of it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, now you have a very interesting path in the industry. As we kind of mentioned before, you are one of the leading Hollywood producers, but you started off in broadcast journalism.
I did.
Now, how did you transition from going into journalism into then transitioning into TV and producing?
Well, let me tell you, I arrived in Los Angeles quite a while ago, 1992, and it was right after the Rodney King
Oh,
trial,
Wow.
the riots, the rebellion.
Yeah.
Right? And I was working in Houston. I was a television news anchor in Houston. And I said, I'm getting to Los Angeles because there's going to be a lot of work there because they're going to have to rebuild the city.
yeah.
Right? And so I said, it's happening in the African American community. I know that community. I'm part of that community. I can make this work. And I just quit my job.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Now that's ballsy right there.
Everybody thought I was crazy. Matter of fact, I could never work at Fox again. Thank you, Fox. You know, because I broke a contract.
Yeah.
Some burned bridges.
And so, you know, and I ended up coming to Los Angeles working for KCBS television and covering the second Rodney King trial. And I was one of the reporters. They had several reporters at the time. And so, you know, I was trying to figure out how I could fit in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my goal at the time was just to continue being a television news reporter.
Okay.
And then Black Entertainment Television said they needed somebody to do some freelance correspondence work. And I said, oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I can do that. And so I did that in addition to doing my other job. I'm not Jamaican. I've just always had several jobs, you know. You have to.
You have to have it
You
in
have
this
to,
industry.
you know. And so I wanted to, I've always been concerned about, as a female in the industry, how they tend to get rid of us after a certain age. And so I said, I've got to figure this thing out. I'm a person that, I didn't know it was called strategy at the time. I was trying to figure out, you know, I wanted an exit strategy. I wanted to know, you know, how I could have longevity in this career, in this business. And so I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go work for BET, which I did. Somehow start producing at BET. I'd already produced at some of my other television jobs around the country.
Mm-hmm.
LA was my 9th city,
Wow.
Wow.
right? So I said, okay, because, you know, you got to move around
You
and
got to
move
move
up.
to different markets.
Yeah. So I said, I got to figure this thing out. This is what I want to do. This is what I was born to do. I got to make this work. And so I started working for BET, and BET would send me out to interview celebrities. Okay, that's good. I can do that. And one day they sent me to do an interview at Disney, and the Disney executive came up to me afterwards, and she said, hey, we're trying to do, like, you know, movie specials, and we like your style. Can you, would you be interested in doing a behind the scenes of how this movie was made for us? And I'm like, sure, I don't mind doing that. And so she said, it's just a small movie. Buzz Lightyear.
Super
Yeah,
small.
just
Andy.
minute.
No big deal.
Yeah.
A little thing called Toy Story. And I started doing behind the scenes of the movies from there.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, I got to say, right before that, I was also working for this TV show Inside Edition. And so I literally would leave Inside Edition at a certain hour, go do my BET story at another hour, right? Get that on the air for the next day, and then go back and figure out how we can finish this little special for this little film called Toy Story. And so, but that's how my business was born, because then the people at Disney came to me and said, you know, we need you to have a business, to have a company.
Right.
And so I said, oh, no problem. I said, yeah, we'll get that all set up. And so I call a friend. I'm like, what are they talking about? You know, what are they talking about? How am I going to make this work? And she goes, oh, don't worry. We'll get your company set up. You know, what do you want to call it? And I said, just call it, people used to joke at me all the time about, you know, because I was constantly running around the city doing interviews for some network or for some, you know, media outlet. And so they said, that Frederic girl is always working. So I said FGW. And that became the name of the company.
I like
and
that.
it stuck.
Yeah.
So
And that's a great reputation to have. The person is always working.
always
I
working.
know, are you sure you're not Jamaican? Are you sure?
No, but you know, it's fun. It's fun. And why do this if it's not,
Right.
right? I mean, you've been up since 4 today.
I have.
I've been up since about the same time. And, you know, it's just what we do.
Yeah.
And it's long
It
after
is
4
what it
p.m.
is,
or
and I'm
5
not
p.m.
going to bed for a long time.
But it's what we do. So,
Yeah.
you know, you want to have fun. So that's a long answer, but that's how I got into business.
Well, speaking of figuring things out, because you've emphasized that a little bit, how were you able to use some of the qualities that you learned from your broadcast journalism career and apply those to your producing career?
Excellent question. I'm going to tell you why. You would be surprised at how your skill set, your skills can transfer. Reporting skills can transfer into other careers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you can write, oh my gosh, there's such a dearth of people. A lot of people cannot write.
That's true.
You know, so, or turn a phrase, or be able to write a promo. Those are skills that everyone needs today,
Yeah.
right? I don't care if you're going to go, you get ready to write something on the internet for a company. A company needs a bio. A person needs a bio. A company needs to have, you know, more information about their executives. You know, it's just, you need to learn how to write. So the writing skills transferred, the video production skills transferred. I've always been interested in the technical aspect of what we do. And I've always been the type of person that is nosy about the business side of what we do. I'm like, well, how are they making money? How is that working? And why are they paying her so much money?
Inquisitive
And why
mind.
is he making more money than she?
Exactly, yeah.
So how can we, you know, level this deal? So curiosity pays off, right? So as a reporter, you have to be curious and ask the right questions.
Yeah.
So it's not just asking the question, it's asking the right question.
Yeah.
And so that translated right along into what I do. You get on a movie set today, my company tells you how the movies are made. You have to know about the movies to be able to explain what you do. As a television reporter, you've got to know that story to be able to explain it to someone. It's all the same thing. So the skills transferred,
Yeah.
and we're having a ball.
And then, as far as your company, for someone who may want to start their own production company, what are some of the steps that you would recommend for them to do it?
Well, I would say this, that you really need to determine, first of all, if this is what you want to do. You know, there's a lot of people that say they want to do this, but really you need to look at the whole picture.
It's a lot of work.
It's some work, right? What you guys have here, that somebody did some work. And so I think that if you're going to start a production company, you know, I would encourage people to, there are classes today on the business of the show. They don't call it show business for nothing, right? So it's the business of show. And I think you really need to know the business. You need to have a lawyer. You need to be able to determine whether you need to be incorporated. Are you going to start an INC or LLC?
You need to know that all at the beginning.
Yeah, you really do, because then taxes come into play.
That's true.
And you're going to pay Uncle Sam.
Yes, that's a guarantee.
He's going to get his money.
Sooner or later. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced with running your own company?
Well, you know, this is a very competitive business.
Amen.
Very competitive. And people call me for jobs every day.
Mm-hmm.
My best friend called me to hire her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
People at church
Gravitate towards you.
can you hire my kid? Can I get a job? Can this person get a job? But I think that, at least for me, what I like to do and what I like to say to people is this, that the best thing the hardest part is the rejection.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we spend thousands of dollars putting together proposals to secure movies,
Yeah.
to tell the studios, hey, we're the best people to market this movie for you. Because that's really what behind the scenes is. It's a marketing tool to sell the movie. And so we go in and do a lot of research. Like, for instance, you know, television and movies live and die by, television lives and dies by ratings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, movies are rated too, in a certain aspect, by the box office.
Right.
And opening weekend is always the most important,
Huge,
theoretically, right?
huge. I tell people all the time, I'll get to the theater opening weekend, you must, if you want to see more of these types of movies. But, so we spend a lot of money putting together these proposals, and sometimes we don't get the film.
Yeah.
You know, so rejection, you know, we're rejected, and I've gotten used to it now. But here's what my favorite word is: pivot. We didn't get that one, move,
I
turn,
love that.
let's go.
Turn around.
Keep it
On
moving.
to the next
You
one.
have to.
Yeah.
You have to, because otherwise you'll have a huge chip on your shoulder. You'll walk around with a scowl on your face. You won't be nice to people. And this business is all about relationships.
Can't survive without
Hands
that.
down.
Yeah.
I can go back and look at contracts that we're able to secure today, and it's because of a relationship I had from 10, 20 years ago.
Wow.
Wow.
A woman called me up the other day, and she said, hey, my cousin has a story on her family that would make a great documentary. They need somebody to put it together. This girl from college. I've been out of college for a minute. Right. So, but she came to me, and it's a fascinating story. So I'm all excited about that one, right? Because we also do documentary films. Really, if you look at the behind the scenes of the movies, we're on movie sets now because of social media. I love social media. Because of social media, we're on movie sets every day. So I'm there. If the movie goes, last movie we worked on was Ride Along 2. Kevin Hart, Ice Cube, Kevin Hart, right? And we shot for 45 days, weekends off. We did that film over the summer. We started off in Miami. Fantastic. And then
You gotta love Miami.
it was hot, raining periodically. Started off in Miami, and then we ended in Atlanta. And so we're on that set every day. It is like a master class in filmmaking. You know, even though I know about the film business, I studied the film business, still there's nothing like being there, you know. And we were on a set with Will Packer, who is the, you know,
He's the man.
Great.
the man, right? Will Packer knows how to run a movie set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I love watching this brother work. It's fascinating. And what he's really smart about is that Will not only knows how to produce a movie, he knows how to market a movie.
Yeah.
So,
He's an overall threat. He can do it all.
Yeah.
well, in his box office numbers prove it.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know, he knows where to take the movie. Right now, he and Kevin Hart are touring the country on a lot of college campuses, marketing their film, The Wedding Ringer. And you know, he was smart to go there because it's a comedy and it's about these guys, and you know, he's smart, he's genius. So it's great to be on sets and learn this stuff. But we're on those sets every day, and so that is the equivalent of, we have 2 cameras shooting. I have had one camera just on Kevin Hart, had another camera that covered the production, right? One camera on Kevin Hart because, oh my God.
You don't want to miss
I don't even think you need to explain.
Miss a second.
Energizer Bunny. I'm like, dude, what are you on? What are you drinking? What are you
energy
smoking?
level.
Yeah, he's crazy, right? And so,
To say the least.
yeah, I mean, we just keep one camera on him, and there's golden material that we get from Kevin Hart, and so we're able to service that out to all social media. And when it comes to marketing the film, we've done some really cool stuff, you know. And so to answer your question the long way around, when we are putting all of this content together, you know, and marketing the film, what's really cool is that we're able to take snippets of those little pieces and service them out to social media. And so everybody's getting custom content. Everybody feels like they're getting something special.
Yeah.
Right? And it's because we were on the set every day. So we love social media for that. But that's the best part about the business. The hard part is the rejection.
And then when you mentioned some of the films you've worked on, like Ride Along 2, and I know 12 Years a Slave was another one. How do you go about picking what projects you want to work on? Because I know those have primarily very strong black leads. So is that a prerequisite for you to work on that film, or how do you go about picking that selection?
Well, trust me, we can market any film. But our specialty is African American. Communities of color. That's my audience. That's my community. I know my community. I know my audience. Do you know the #1 supermarket among African Americans?
Supermarket?
Supermarket. Take a guess. Where do we go grocery shopping? #1.
Okay, let me think.
Piggly Wiggly.
No.
Where are you from?
My family's in the South.
I'm the only one I thought who would know Piggly Wiggly. But that's not it.
I'm trying to think of the one on the East Coast, and I can't put my finger on the name of it.
Pathmark.
No.
What is it?
All right, I'm 0 for 2.
Safeway.
It's going to blow your mind. Whole Foods.
Really?
Whole Foods?
Really. Really. These are Nielsen numbers, not mine. I didn't make them up. I didn't pull
Is
them out
there a
of my pocket.
certain part of the country that's
18
higher
to
number?
49, income over 50,000. #1 supermarket for African Americans is Whole Foods. Now, the
Not
reason
even
I know
Trader Joe's?
content like that is I have to know my audience.
Yeah.
I have to know that, you know, the difference we made for Fast and Furious 6. Black and Brown put that film over the top. Black and Brown put Ride Along 1 over the top, $160 million.
Yeah.
That movie was made for $25 million.
Yeah.
I would never guess that Whole Foods
I know,
would be
Whole
the #1
Foods?
store.
Hey, and
I
you're-
was trying to get all creative with my answer, too, like thinking of something that's not even in
well,
LA.
it's not Ralph's.
I was going to say Ralph's or Kroger's even, because Kroger's is back in the Midwest, so that's what I was thinking too.
But you know, what I'm telling you is that, you know, you have to do your research and you
Yeah.
have to know your audience. You know, before I even appear somewhere or talk to an audience, talk to someone, I ask, who are these people? Because you want to know who you're speaking to. And you want to know, because you want to connect.
Right.
You want to be able to engage. And so that's part of the business of marketing, and part of the business of what we do is that I need to know who I'm talking to.
Well, and it's also great for African American spending because of the fact it proves that they're buying. And because Whole Foods is known for not being the most cost-effective grocery store to go into as far as if you're doing your grocery shopping.
But you know our people. We
True.
love luxury.
We do love luxury.
brands.
Very true.
You know,
That is true.
but Nielsen puts out a report every year on the state of the African American consumer, and so you know that's a report that we just, quite frankly, digest, and then we dig for deep, you know, do a deeper dive into that information. You know, top 3 African American movies, favorite movies. Guess.
Of all time, or
Of
just
all time.
Boomerang,
Best Man.
Love Jones.
Oh, Coming to America.
Coming to America. Ding, 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 ding. High five
Listen,
for Jessica.
I'm quitting the games. Apparently, I can't win.
Coming to America is huge. You know, it was targeted as, or Nielsen gave us the numbers on that and said, you know, it was one of the top favorite films of African Americans. Will Smith had the other 2.
Will Smith, Independence Day.
Bingo.
Hitch.
Oh my gosh, I'm
Hitch.
on a roll.
No,
Okay, I give up. That was my 0 for 3. I give up.
Hitch probably would have done better. I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to say that. Hitch should be.
That's so intriguing.
So think about this. Think why Hitch would have done better. Could have done better.
Kevin James.
No, Kevin James is great. He's funny. Who's the love interest?
Eva Mendes.
Mendes?
If
Eva
it had
Mendes.
been more
Right.
of
Could have been a
a
black woman.
African American woman.
African American women would have responded better.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's so
But
interesting.
you brought in another ethnic group to sell the film. So I think it was a smart move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the crossover. I feel like the crossover effect too for that film.
Right.
Absolutely.
It had such
Absolutely.
a large audience draw.
But it doesn't negate the fact blacks and browns are making a big difference at the box office.
Right.
You know, we go to movies more. You know, we go to the
And we
grocery
support
store more.
our movies. Yeah.
And we need to do a better job at supporting
Yeah,
our movies. We
I
need
agree.
to not bootleg our movies.
Yeah, so we do
True.
do that.
Yeah.
We need to not buy them in the barber shop, in the beauty shop, for $5. I would appreciate that. It's so funny because sometimes I walk into the beauty shop salon, and you know, when I go home to Louisiana and take a ride down certain streets, and I'm checking in to say hello to everybody, I'll see them in there just selling a movie that we recently worked on, and I'm like, hey. You're
better
the
go see
reason why.
that.
You're the reason why we're not going to get to make any more. I'm like, oh, come on. Malcolm Lee has plenty of money. Best Man Holiday. Malcolm Lee made his money. Spike, he can get money from Spike. I'm like, dude, that's not the way it works.
Right.
You know, let's not do our folks like this.
What are
you
some
know.
other factors that go into your selection process when you're choosing a movie or a project to work on?
And to answer your question, the first time you asked it, you know what? It does make a difference in the type of movie it is. Would I mark it booty call? Probably not. You know,
And why do you say that? Why?
I don't know. It's just I don't like Jamie Foxx. Even Jamie Foxx doesn't like booty call anymore.
He's beyond the booty call now.
That's a good point.
Matter of fact, I think Jamie offered to give us our money back. He's fantastic, by the way. But, you know, I think that sometimes what happens is a studio will call us up and say, help. And when someone says help, you help them, right? Because I always think that there are ways to market a film. You know, like I went to see Selma. Powerful film.
Heard it's amazing.
Because what's amazing about it is that it talks about the strategy of the civil rights movement. It is the civil rights movement from a different lens, different perspective. Plus, David is phenomenal in this film. I mean, you're sitting there going, okay, he's king. I'm lost into him. He's king. And Dr. King. So that's a type of film that I want to be a part of,
Right.
you know. And so I feel that that's one that I want to make sure that the community comes out and to support it. So whatever we can do to help support it, I want to be able to do that. That said, we did American Gangster. Well, it's Denzel. Bingo. That's why I decided to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Ridley Scott too. But, you know, a fantastic director, a great story, a great script. I just saw a script the other day. And I'm going to say it here first. I haven't said it anywhere else.
We get the exclusive.
I'm just telling you, this film will be an Oscar contender with the right people and the right director.
Wow.
It's a film called Harriet. It's about Harriet Tubman. Now, you may go, oh, come on. The writing, this script is phenomenal. And the woman who wrote it is Academy Award nominee.
Well, that brings up a good point. So we have films like 12 Years a Slave, right? And we have, obviously, Oprah and Tyler Perry and Shonda Rhimes, who are changing the game completely for African Americans.
Very much so.
Do you think that now it is easier for films to get greenlit as far as the way they're viewed in the Hollywood executive kind of studio environment?
Easier to be greenlit?
Is the perception of the black film different in those rooms behind the doors?
No, because it's all about green. It's all about, can this film make money? And so 12 Years a Slave would not have been made without Brad Pitt. Let's be real, right? Selma, 12 Years a Slave helped Selma, though. You know, and that's a Plan B Brad Pitt company film, too.
Oh, really?
Yes, we jokingly say the B stands for black. It doesn't. I'm sure it stands for Brad.
I like where you're going with it. We're gonna go with it.
like that.
Listen, we like Brad in the studio.
I didn't come up with that. Alfred Woodard did. But you know, I believe now that the Plan B stands for black. You know, because he's putting out some fabulous content and he's helping make sure that content gets out. Because otherwise, it would not be made. Because in someone's mind, and we have to at some point erase this. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why people keep saying it. But they've repeated it enough to where they believe it. And here's what it is. They say black films don't travel. In other words, you can't sell our films overseas.
I've heard that many times before.
Not true. Not true. You got to try to sell it first,
Yeah.
right? Ride Along went overseas. 12 Years a Slave went overseas. So, but it's only because with 12 Years a Slave, it had the Oscar buzz, had the Oscar win. It won Best Picture, right? The director's from the UK, so we knew that it would be able to go to the UK.
Right.
But could it go to Australia? Could it go to Germany? Could it go to Italy? Could it go to Spain? You know, key places where you have to sell a film. Foreign sales now outrank domestic sales. It used to be everybody wanted to be American, right? The domestic box office was all it had to take. You had to just do well in America, North America. Doesn't work that way anymore. China's changing the game, and foreign sales now outweigh the domestic box office. The foreign box office outweighs domestic.
But doesn't it have to be marketed differently overseas? Like I heard
Absolutely.
complaints about how even with 12 Years a Slave that they were saying in America it was, they showed the African American actors on the posters, where in Europe you had to show Brad Pitt primarily on the posters. So is that true or is that not true?
That is very true. You got to sell the film. You sell it the way you
Know your
sell it the way you
audience,
can,
right?
Know your audience.
You know your niche. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, black films do travel, and I am determined to prove that. And if it means that I've got to pivot, I'm going to do that. Because I think it's important that there's a whole lot of money being left on the table. It's almost like, okay, here's America, and here's the rest of the world. And we're only looking at this, yet our music travels. Who's the #1 artist right now? Female.
Beyonce.
Beyonce.
I was going to say Beyonce.
Hey, she's pretty good.
Yeah.
She's worth her money. She's worth her
Not
money.
gonna lie,
pretty
she
good.
deserves it.
Sister girl. All right.
Yes. So a lot of people don't realize that TV production and film production can be very different. What are some of the biggest differences between the two?
Good question. First thing I tell everybody, you need to know what everyone does on a set. I had to go teach a class at my alma mater last month.
University of Oklahoma.
University of Oklahoma, Boomer Sooner, love those Sooners. And I took out a call sheet. And I was showing the call sheet because it really shows everyone who works on the film, what time they're due there. It had a lot of information, right? Front and back. And so we had 200 people working on Ride Along 2, and so it had everybody's position, it had, again, the call time, etc. And so here's the thing. I think I forgot your question. Give me your question again.
The differences between
Yes,
TV production.
yes, TV production. Okay, so I'm showing them the call sheet, and I'm saying you need to know what each person on the set does, so you know who to go to in case there's a problem. Well, let's see. Can we shoot over here behind the scenes? Question. Can we shoot over on this side of the set? Well, who would you go to for that? You go to the location person. Are we cleared to shoot over here? But producing for television and producing for film, about the same. But when it gets to the executive producer ranks, that's where things really change.
Yeah.
Right? An executive producer in television is the showrunner. There's certain types of EPs and producers on a film set. Their EP really can be the person that's bringing the money.
Right.
Therefore, they're not really the creative types, right? They don't have a clue what's going on that set, except they know how much money that they've invested.
Yeah.
And they're there to protect their investment. Some of them show up, some of them don't. It's kind of interesting.
And as an African American woman in this industry, what are some of the challenges that you've faced in order to kind of be the success that you've become today?
Well, sometimes they call me different names. No, I think that I run a pretty tight crew. And, we try to just, it's just like your grandma and your great-grandma told you years ago, we try to be 3 times as better as everyone else. I have to have things really buttoned up. Because if something goes wrong, well, that's how they do it. I don't want anyone to say that about FGW or anyone that works for us. We run a pretty tight-knit crew. And, we do a lot of things. So we might be working on a documentary this season. Matter of fact, we have a documentary coming out on OWN.
Oh.
And it's
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're excited about it coming out in January. And so we might be working on a documentary one day, and then the next day we're doing behind the scenes of a Tupac movie. Or the next day we're up in Toronto shooting a sitcom. We were able to privately finance a sitcom starring these 3 beautiful little chocolate girls that I can't wait to get on television.
No.
And they're sisters, and they're singers, and they're from Africa, and they're discovered on YouTube, and a Hollywood agent finds them because they're getting all these hits, right? Their content, and they are whisked away from Nigeria to Los Angeles to pursue their dream of musical stardom.
Wow.
And so they're three young girls, and I mean they're gorgeous, and they're smart, and they're funny, and we created a whole sitcom around them, and it's very multicultural. It looks like the world. It looks like America. And I'm very proud of it. Privately financed. So we're doing that too. So we're humping.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're humping.
Well, you know, you mentioned a little bit earlier how much you love social media, and obviously digital media and social media is all the rage these days. And, you know, these days anyone could start a production company and have it registered with SAG or IMDb for the sake of putting stuff online or whatnot. But you managed to start a successful production company. That's where the difference is. What is the secret to success?
I just grind. We hustle. You know.
She's like, simple answer.
Yeah.
No,
that's all.
I just grind. I just hustle. You know, and I got to tell you again, it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
The relationships I had from when I did television news come into play today.
Yeah.
I think it helps that people remember seeing you on television, you know, 50 pounds ago, but it's all good. You know, so I think that, you know, your reputation, I think the relationships matter. Can we trust her with our story? Can we trust them with our star? You know, is she going to ask that question that's going to to exploit my talent?
Right.
You know, there are ways of asking questions. You don't have to come right in,
Right. Yeah.
bull and
Soften it
finish
a
up.
little bit.
Yeah.
What would you like to conquer next in your career?
I think I'm going to conquer that selling African American films overseas. I think that's huge for us. And I think someone needs to kick in the door. Why not me?
That's like a T-shirt statement right there.
Well, you know, I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, it's going to take some work, and but I've never been afraid of hard work. You know, I've been working all these hours already, so why not? Plus, you know what? That means I get to travel a little bit.
That's not a bad thing,
I love
especially
it.
in this industry. Where can fans find you and find out more about your company and the projects that you're working on social media?
Well, I'm going to update my website real quickly now. FGWProductions.com, Frederic Girl Working, FGW.com, FGWProductions.com. I'm on Facebook. Hey, you friended me the other day.
I did. I
thought
found
that
you.
was so cool.
I wanted to know who you were, so I found you.
All right, good deal, good deal, good deal.
The reporter in me.
Yeah.
And you should friend me too.
I will. I'm not even waiting till I get home. I'm going to get my phone back.
Just get your phone right now.
Right now. And then on Twitter, I'm on Twitter, Steph Fred LA, STEP Fred LA, and I'm also on Instagram, Steph Fred LA. So I love Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
do too.
It's a great place to be nosy.
It
Yeah.
is. You can find out a lot about people on Instagram.
And what they eat.
And what they
yeah.
eat. And what they eat. You're very true. Very true. Jessica, where can people find you?
Find me on Twitter at I am Jessica King, and you can find me on Instagram at Jess Clem.
And you can find me at Derrial Christon on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Full name. Thank you for tuning into Breaking Into. Stephanie, it's been an absolute pleasure. I can't wait to watch this new show about the 3 girls from
That
Nigeria.
sounds amazing.
City of Angels.
City of
I
Angels.
love
And when
it.
will it premiere?
We're still waiting on a premiere date.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
You will keep us
let us know
posted,
so we can promote it on Black Hollywood Live.
Absolutely. Planning on doing 100 episodes, and we're ready to go.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you again for coming in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
From producers Maria Menounos, Derrial, Christon, Tiana Hobson, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.